Hello. Welcome to my channel. My name is Sherry, and I am an online ESL teacher and speech therapist. So thanks so much for joining me today. We have a great topic for today's interview/discussion. So I'm going to give it a moment to see if we get some more people hopping on. Please feel free to ask questions in the chat. I would be more than happy to answer those. And so let's get started. Today's topic is all about teaching online in China, specifically in the mainland, and what you can do to help you improve your bookings, and also what is going on with the new proposed regulations and laws that are causing a lot of people who teach online as their main source of income to become really anxious, concerned, uncertain of what the future holds. So I hope today we can answer some of those questions. So I want to introduce my guest today. She is a wonderful resource for online teachers, for parents, for individuals who want to explore other cultures. I highly encourage you to check out her website, which will be posted here in the chat. And so let's give a warm welcome to Minje, and I will have her give us a little bit of background about herself. So I'm going to go ahead and add her to the stream. Hello.
Hello. Hi, Sherry. Thank you so much for giving this opportunity. Hello, everyone who's present today with us. I would like to introduce myself briefly. My name is Minje. I live in London in the United Kingdom, but I was born in Shanghai and grew up in Shanghai. Before I came to the UK, I was working in Hong Kong for 10 years for a management consulting company. So I'm kind of a lifelong learner. I've got several master degrees. One of them is in online education with UBC in Canada. And one degree is MBA with University of Cambridge. So what I do is trying to really combine different areas of expertise and help ESL teachers to improve their bookings, or if they would like to seek independent teaching, to support them in the way I can.
Oh, well, thank you so much. We really appreciate that. And I'm going to post here your website as well, which is improveyourbookings.com, correct?
That's right.
Okay, so for those of you who are interested in learning more about Minje, go ahead and check out, oh, I'm sorry, I need to fix that. It's not WWI, my typing. So improveyourbookings.com. So we'll fix that for you. Hello, Michelle. Nice to see you. So let's see who else is here. Let's welcome a few people. I want to give a shout out to Jody Bryant. Jody, thank you so much for being here today. For those of you who are online teachers, if you do not know Jody, she has a wonderful Facebook group. And so Jody, if you want to type that Facebook group, feel free to do so in the chat. She gives a lot of information, a lot of leads as well. I have actually, I think, got 2 different positions because of Jody. So check her out. So let's get started with the questions. So guys that are here, please ask questions that you would like answers to from Minje. So I am going to, here is Jody's Facebook group. Please check it out. But I want to ask you the first question, and that is, what is going on with the Ministry of Education and the current proposed changes? And how will that affect teachers who teach in the larger schools like VIP Kid, GoGo Kid, Zebra English? How are these changes going to impact us?
Right. That's a great question, and it needs elaboration somehow, because one can, if somebody is teaching ESL as a full-time career, one might get easily panicked saying, oh, these scary titles saying, oh, China is banning private tutoring. I would like to say, hold on a second. Let's look at the big picture first and do a very objective analysis and assessment to understand what are the opportunities here and what might be some potential downsides in this scenario. So the big picture is government is concerned about two things. Number one is the overall cost of bringing up a child. If a child has to go from one tutoring class to another, being crammed all the time to study different subjects, sometimes it's really not necessary to cram year 1, year 2 curriculum to a child who's still in kindergarten. But apparently that was a trend for the last 5 to 10 years. I don't know about others, but in my point of view, it's completely unnecessary. So that's government responding to the rising costs and anxiety bring up family. The second issue is the population overall is aging. Of course, it's a huge country with a huge population size, but there's an obvious trend of aging population, and because it's really expensive and quite very stressful to bring up one child. And the other thing to notice is a lot of Chinese moms, of course, every mom wants to give their child the best, but most of the Chinese moms are still working moms. They have a full-time job, like us. They have taken up majority of the responsibility in household keeping and raising the child. If having one child is so stressful, having 2, 3, maybe in your case 4 children, it becomes unbearable. So that's the overall context of the recent policies coming out one by one. One trend is the government is trying to reduce the cramming side of private tutoring, saying, well, hold on, I don't think it's necessary for a kindergarten child to study year 1, 2, 3 before she or he goes to the primary school, because he will be so bored sitting in a primary school. And from a biological point of view, it's also not feasible. That's one. And the second is government is trying to broaden the scope of education. Instead of saying, only exam score matters, the government is trying to do it in a more systematic way at education of art, physical education, PE education into curriculum and assessment. That's the way I see things. Of course, it's a huge country, and we all know the government is more famous for having a top-down approach rather than bottom-up approach. Whenever the government wants to do something, it's compared to the UK, the government tend not to consult so much to the public to get feedbacks. But that's politics. What I am seeing is government, from looking at the big picture, government is trying to encourage families to have more than one child. And one of the ways to do it is to reduce the cost and anxiety in educating and caring for a child. That's the policy from central government, but it's like you guys say, China is a very, very big country. It's very diverse with local states and counties. How does each regional government implement, interpret the policy? It's another matter. So I hope that helps in really releasing some of the anxiety from ESL teachers, saying, hold on, let's calm down and look at the big picture.
Thank you so much. So you gave a really good overview. There are several aspects at play. The government is looking at, like you said, trying to ease the burden on families who are raising one child, and all of their hopes and dreams for their family rests on that one child. And that is really stressful, not just for the parents, but also for that child, the expectations that child has, and just always feeling that pressure of having to perform at the highest levels. So that would be really daunting. So thank you for sharing that. I think there are a lot more teachers who teach on the platforms who are not providing cramming services, but rather they are providing extracurricular conversational classes in English, giving them supplemental classes in reading or math. Do you think that those online schools, like, you know, the big VIP Kid, are they going to also be impacted by the government shutting down some of the tutoring centers that are actually brick and mortar buildings in the cities and provinces?
Yeah, so I will answer your question from two different perspectives. One is I actually ask online ESL teachers, for those I know and I work with, I ask, oh, do you really see the real impact on your booking? The answer is most of the time, not really. Before summer, when exam was coming, teachers have a few cancellations, and that's because students wanted to prepare for their school exams, but they themselves, the teacher I talked to, they haven't experienced directly the immediate impact from these policies just came out recently. That's my firsthand experience. My own thinking of the situation is, in long term, it's probably a more positive news to online ESL teachers who are teaching X curriculum, who are teaching core skills such as critical thinking, creativity, communication, collaboration, because it's aligned with the overall wind the government wants the children to go to. In general, the government want the children to be happier, to be more positive, to be healthy, to be able to function physically and psychologically, mentally as a human being. That's how a normal person would see it. And what a lot of the ESL teacher I interact with, what they offer fits the direction. What they offer is in alignment with the overall trend. For some other in-person brick and mortar organizations, huge educational conglomerates, groups, I wouldn't name the names, but I know one of you, they have sort of a military style. They put students in the campus over the holidays and give them tons of exercise and books to prepare for exams. That type of education, to some extent, in the past 5 to 10 years, became a capital game, because when a group has huge capital investment, they are able to build buildings, hire teachers more, offering education as a commodity service, just stuffing contents and saying, well, this is how I am able to prepare you for an IELTS exam in 6 weeks. This is how I help you to prepare TOEFL, GRE, really fast, like 10 days miracles. I am not too positive on these type of offerings. I also, none of the ESL teacher I interact with provide that kind of intensive exam factory.
No,
I don't think so.
Okay. So that really sheds a lot of light into, I think, what some of the concerns are. So let's go ahead and shift gears a bit, and let's talk about, okay, so myself, about a year ago in May, I started thinking about, what about if I started teaching some students privately? So I found my students, and then I would schedule the lessons, I would do the curriculum. And I had one parent who reached out to me on WeChat. They had left a platform that I was working at, and they said, we want you to teach my child. And so I was like, I don't know, but I'll give it a try, right? And from there, she's a teacher, and so she talked to some of her other teacher parents, and so I acquired kind of a pod, I guess, of students, and that's how it began for me. But it sounds like you are saying that it's a good idea to consider doing some private services as your own entity. Can you share how someone can maybe get started with that and what you could do to assist someone in that?
Absolutely. So again, I always look at the big picture first, because China, a lot of the families are entering middle class. Every parent wants the best for their children. It doesn't matter if it's mom in China, if she's a mom in United States, they want to give their children the best the way they can. With the rising income for Chinese families, parents start to realize, oh, the best education is not necessarily a commodity education. They start to see the possibility of personalized education. For example, somebody say, oh, my child really loves design, vintage clothing. She wants to come to the UK to study in London design universities. So that really brings huge opportunity, not for commodity type of platforms who offer cookie cutter services, kind of McDonald's service for English language learning. It becomes possible, if I use the restaurant metaphor, it becomes possible for teachers to open an Italian restaurant, a Japanese restaurant, I don't know, Vietnamese restaurant, and a French restaurant. You will be able to offer different menus because consumers' tastes are changing. And seeing the Chinese market, it's extremely dynamic and extremely fast. I can see the change happening really, really fast. So I would say it is a good timing to get into private tutoring. The timing is good. Having said that, there will be several hurdles a teacher has to overcome. We touched base a little bit on them yesterday. The first one would be probably shifting perspectives, shifting one's perspective from a teacher who's delivering curriculum to the students, where in a way the teacher controls the classroom, to be able to provide private lessons and to be a teacherpreneur in a way. One needs to shift angles to see things from the parent and child's perspective. That's not easy if, for example, one doesn't speak the language of the student, one doesn't read the language students, one can't really interpret fully and really rapidly the government policies. That's something I hope my website and my workshop can help teachers with. Not necessarily how to teach, because teachers, you would have that expertise, but really to build that, help each teacher to build a foundation. For example, Sherry, if you want to open a French restaurant and you're great with Italian cooking and the consumers are shifting their taste, I probably will do analysis with you, sit down with you and work out a strategy to build the foundation right. Then we can work on at the operational side of things. For example, how you do marketing, how do you deal with payment? We need to address that later. But really, it's the strategy. It's fantastic that the parents approach you. It really shows something, you being an excellent teacher. Parents love you. Maybe they left the platform, but they want to keep the relationship with you. And that already says a lot. The next step is really to have a crystal clear idea what the parents are exactly looking for and why they can't find with other platforms, why they eventually come to you. Because when we figure out that formula, that really helps you to scale up in the future.
Perfect. So we do have a question that I want to get to in just a moment, but a year ago, when I changed my direction, I changed my name to Teacherpreneur Sherry on some of my social media, because I agree with you. I think that is often something that teachers struggle with, that yes, you're a teacher, but you're also a business person, and you need to think through a business lens in order to be successful. And like you said, all of those things. So what I suggest, so I participate in a coaching group that has nothing to do with teaching. It is a multi-million-dollar coaching group. So everyone who's in this group, except for me, are millionaires. I happen to know someone that got me in the group, and I work for them doing coaching. And so I got in the group, and I think finding someone such as yourself to coach you through this process is so crucial, because otherwise you're going to get frustrated when you hit these roadblocks. When you're focusing and you're thinking, I'm doing such a great job providing the curriculum, but you're not quite able to connect with maybe the families due to maybe there's some cultural differences, due to the fact that you don't understand the inner workings of the Ministry of Education, all of those things. And since you have that business background, but you also have a very clear vision yourself about what's important in educating young students, I think it's a great combination. So that's why I'm so thrilled to have you here. So let's look at a question. We have a question, and that is, and this is a common question. I get this question all the time. Mm-hmm. What is a reasonable price to charge for private lessons in China? And I know this isn't an easy answer, but this is something that people always ask. How much do you charge your students, Sherry? And I always am reluctant to just give a generic answer, because there is no easy answer.
That's right. That's quite a general question. I try to give a few benchmarks, but I also suggest every teacher should have a process to discover the right pricing for them. It's not an static number. You need to figure it out to find an optimal number. But let me give you some benchmark number first. I believe from the way Chinese parents see things, because we need to see things from their perspective.
Yes.
If you sign up a lesson with VIP kids, they get first lesson for free. Then afterwards, the average cost, I believe, for in a 25-minute class, it's about $20 to $25. But a parent have to pay upfront for about half a year or 1 year. Right. So in terms of unit cost, that's about $20 to $25. But we need to remember it's always cash flow. So if a parent has to put out of their pocket half a year tuition, which goes to $1,000 $2,000, when you do your pricing, if it's similar offering that is online, one-to-one, with a native speaker who's qualified and with experience in ESL teaching, we need to remember first, from parents' view, they have a benchmark already. But they have a benchmark for two things: unit cost and cash flow, cash out of their pockets. If you are setting your product in that range of products, the way for you to win customers is maybe offer a lower unit cost, or maybe offer another way of payment, so the parents doesn't need to take out so much cash at the very beginning. Having said that, I never encourage ESL teachers to compete on the cost, because you will always have someone who's offering a lower cost. You probably don't want to get yourself into that position. That's why it's so critical to get your position right. Which type of restaurant you're opening, which kind of menu you're opening. Make sure the restaurant you're offering, there are not so many people who are able to cook what you are able to cook, and use value proposition. That's much more key. And make sure you have that advantage for the next 5 years.
Ooh, and that's a very valid point that you have shared, is that this is not something when you start teaching online, and Jody's been doing this for quite some time, Jody Bryant, that it's not something that you think, oh, I'm just going to do it for the summer. I mean, if you really truly are starting a business, this is something that you need to project out several years. And this is my second career for me. So, I'm still doing some work as a speech therapist, but I am building my business. So I am thinking out, and I agree with you wholeheartedly. What my experience has been when I talk about money, because that's also something that teachers need to get comfortable with the uncomfortable. Teachers tend to get really uncomfortable when they talk about money because we don't think of our skills as a commodity, but they are. And we need to, definitely recognize that we have skills that the parents are wanting. And so how can we best communicate that? And so when I was having my first initial negotiations with this parent, I was like you, I was thinking I knew what the ballpark, what the benchmark was for some of the bigger schools that this family had been with. And I'm thinking, okay, I want to go under that, but I don't want to go so far under that. But I really think the difference for me was that I was able to give them packages of only buying 10 or 20 lessons at a time.
Right.
And they were like, sure, I'll send you the money right away. I mean, it was like, that was it right there. I don't think it was so much how much per lesson. It was the fact that they didn't have to buy a year's worth of lessons or 6 months worth of lessons.
Yes. And also they are building a lasting relationship with you, because some of the platforms, the limitation is parents feel frustrated. They can't secure a good teacher. There isn't a stable relationship between the parent and teacher. When you go independent, that's really one of the game-changing results. You are able to maintain and grow a relationship with your student. Almost, if you want to last it for a lifetime, that's also possible.
Yes. Thank you so much for that perspective. I really appreciate it. So I'm just going to go just a few more minutes because I know that you are super busy and I really appreciate your time. So I want to remind everyone to look at the bottom, improveyourbookings.com. Please make sure you check out Minje's website. Her and I are going to be working together after she's going on vacation. So happy birthday to you. Where are you traveling to, if you don't mind me asking?
So my birthday is July. My husband arranged surprise birthday trip every year. It's a game of the year. Where am I going? So it's a mystery. It's a secret until the date of my birthday.
Oh my goodness, that is amazing. I love that idea. Oh.
Yeah, thank you. I've got a very supportive husband. Yeah.
It's so romantic. And so does he tell you what to pack? Does he tell you warm clothes? Winter clothes? I mean, do you know what to pack?
So we both are very adventurous. My husband grew up in Scotland. Almost every trip we end up being cold, wet, and miserable. So saying there's never bad weather, only inappropriate clothing.
Right. Oh my goodness. That's so funny. Oh. Okay. So Lydia here has another question. And that is, how can you feel safe and make parents feel safe when asking them to pay upfront and giving your bank details?
That's a fantastic question. I believe if you go on for independent teaching, you probably are asking someone who you never met before in real life physically to give you money. And sometimes it's not a tiny pocket money. It can be £100 or $100 $200. How do you do that and still feel comfortable? Different people have different strategies. My strategy is I start giving a lot. When I understand my niche market, every piece of content I create is specifically having that customer in mind. What is keeping that person wake up in the middle of the night? What is troubling him? What he's aspired to? What he's dreamed about? So I give a lot of content over time, not dump on them overnight, but possibly over half a year. So you need to plan 6 months in advance. In a way, being an entrepreneur, it's not something. I grew up in a teacher's family. I don't have parents who are entrepreneurs. It's like going to the gym. It takes time to build up that muscle. If I tell everybody, oh, overnight we're going to be rich teaching on your own, I'm misleading people because usually it takes about a year, 6 to 8 months to build your reputation. What's good is if a teacher is already teaching with the platform, you've got a stable client base already. People know your credibility, they interact with you, they feel you're likable, you teach their children very well. That's a very good foundation. But afterwards, try to give a lot and give exactly what your customer is looking for. So by the time they are chasing me to pay me, I never praise them. By the time when I collect money, they are asking me, oh, when do you open your course? When do you open your workshop? Because you already deliver so much value. You demonstrated you are irreplaceable. People will be chasing you. Parents will be chasing you. They will figure out payment solutions on your behalf if they believe you are the only one who they aspire to, the only one who's the best coach, the best teacher for their children.
Awesome. Thank you so much. And I completely agree, guys. That's exactly my experience. I taught in a brick and mortar as a speech therapist. And once I made the decision I wanted to do private teaching, it was another year of teaching full-time at the brick and mortar and then part-time as a private teacher and also on a platform. And now I'm moving more and more into the private realm because I've developed relationships and I'm turning people away because I don't have time. And I'm not saying I'm making a ton of money, but it's so much more rewarding. And I quit my full-time job. I resigned after 20 years. So now I am my own boss.
Well, what was your biggest hurdle over that transitional period? What did you find most difficult, most challenging?
Honestly, I think it was the scheduling and the time. So the early mornings are what are I think, most wearing on a person. Because if you have a family to care for during the day, my days feels like it's half over by 9 a.m. I feel like, oh, I'm ready for a nap, right? Because I've been teaching for several hours. So that was the biggest hurdle for me. But I agree on the parents finding solutions for the payment, because that was the first thing I was like, I don't know how you can pay me. I don't know how to do this. And I gave solutions. We started off with wire transfers. That's what we did first. She went to her bank. And she had to go to her bank 2 different times. I know she spent a lot of her time to figure this out. And we did a bank transfer. And I gave her my account. And I know people think that that's a little crazy, but I'd known this person for some time. And she can't take money out of my account. If I give her my account number, she can't take the money out. She can only put the money in. And then I said, well, let's try PayPal. Well, guess what? She found a way to make PayPal work. And PayPal does not work for a lot of families in China, but it does work for some. And like you said, they will find ways to make it happen if they want you. Yes. And that, I think, is the key. So Jody has one question, and I think this will be our last question for today. How are some of the ways people can get paid? It's hard to get money out of China, or so it seems.
Yeah, that's really the $1 million question. I dealt with discussion with so many of my ESL teacher clients. There are several ways. Number one is depending on your client, because I would like to bring up the fact to give people new insights. There are Chinese in China, but there are also a lot of Chinese people outside of China. Outside of China, in one of the products I have, I've got Chinese students from Singapore, from France, signing up for it. They ethnically are Chinese, but in terms of payment and exact learning needs, they're different. So getting money from overseas Chinese, it's much easier if we, in a way, this is what I try to encourage my clients: think creatively in a way, broaden your way of thinking. Chinese, they don't necessarily 100% live in mainland China. Think about your target clients and diversify a little. The importance of that's part of risk management. Number two is somehow, yes, this is what I discovered during doing startups and being an entrepreneur. We don't need solution from the very beginning. Just doing things. Most often, more often than not, your customers give you the solution. It's in your case, it worked. Your parent actually find the solution for you because we are not able to see how they see things. They are not able to see how you see things. For what we seem to enter into as a deadlock, most of time, your most keen, your happiest client, he or she will come up with a solution for you. We just need to be patient. This is not me dodging a bullet, but this is more as a process management, being an entrepreneur. It's doing your own business isn't like working for a 9 to 5 stable job where everything is set for you. At this time of the day, money goes from the company's account, school's account to my bank account. It doesn't happen that way. There are so many uncertainties. The whole process is really about always understand customers, get feedback from them, make sure what you offer is truly unique to them, really brings a value to them, then the rest will come.
Yes, thank you so much for sharing that. And I also have experience last summer. I taught a group of 6 students who lived in who lived in California, but they were Chinese families. And I did supplemental work with them. They were students who were learning in schools in California until COVID hit. And so I met these students several times a week. And so again, I looked outside the box and I found them. They posted something on a Facebook group and I responded. So yes, I just think you have to dig in, do some of the work. Jody does a great job of that. She's always looking, finding opportunities. She is definitely a teacherpreneur as well. So I think I'm going to go ahead and close down everything. I really appreciate your time and you will be hearing from me very soon, Minje. I am so excited to take my business to the next level. I feel like I'm ready to, like you said, scale up. I'm ready to scale up my business now that I've kind of got the kinks worked out. The last comments I want to share is that I really feel that the students and their families in China, like you said, they are very inventive. They are not daunted when there is a roadblock or a problem. Like they will find a solution to it if they value you and your service. And I have been really happy with being in charge of my schedule. For instance, earlier this week, I woke up with a migraine headache. I don't get them very often, but I woke up with one. And I quickly messaged my parents for my private students in China. I said, I'm so sorry, I don't feel well. And they're like, oh, please take care of yourself. We'll see you in 2 days. I didn't get fined. I didn't lose a student. I mean, these were all because I built relationships with them and I'm in charge. So I think that that's one of the pluses of being your own person is that you can, if there's incidents like that, you don't worry about canceling like you do if you're going to get a fine from a platform somewhere or a negative parent review. So yeah.
Thank you so much, Sherry, for sharing that story. I believe we share the same philosophy in our view seeing education. It's really not a commodity service. It's not where you get on a platform to deliver a prescribed curriculum. It's more about people. When we understand the student, when we understand the family, you design something, you design a learning journey good for them, suitable for them. At the same time, you are able to use your talent to maximize the creativity from your side and in a way release your own passion. That, I believe, is a win-win-win situation for the future. Yes.
It certainly is. Thank you so much for your time again, Minje. Have a happy birthday. I hope you travel somewhere really exciting. It doesn't matter. You could travel to a paper box and it wouldn't matter because you guys would make it fun, I think.
Yes.
Okay. Thank you so much for joining. And please check out improveyourbookings.com. She's an amazing resource. And I am so thrilled that I read your articles on LinkedIn. You really spoke to me, and I know you're speaking to a lot of other educators. So thank you so much.
Good luck, everyone.
Thank you. Goodbye, everyone. Have a great weekend. Thanks for joining us. Goodbye.